I do have a blue badge. I have a blue badge because if I walk up to 10 yards, I'm suffering pain. When I take a parking bay, I do need room to get out of my car, so I do need the extra space. I may need help to get back to the car because I don't know how much pain I will be if I walk into a shop. One issue, for example, is that a lot of very leading supermarkets will actually lay out car parking spaces in a long line going away from the main door. Why? Because as long as that ground's flat, there is access for a wheelchair. Who they are ruling out is people who suffer pain. And also you're also talking about a major percentage of the population of elderly people who may have difficulty walking. So the simple thing is, change your car park to have the spaces around the main entrance. Shopping is a major problem. You're afraid to bump into people. When I'm walking, if they bump into me, it could have serious repercussions. You can't expect people to change that. I will sometimes bring my walking stick because it's a symbol that there's something wrong. I think that it's not about identifying people with hidden disabilities to help them, because unless you have a stump on the top of your head, you can't see. But there are things such as large department stores. You put some actually seating around at different points where someone can rest. And you even just think, not about someone with a hidden disability, but think about maybe your grandmother or grandfather. Would you expect them to trail around? No, you would hope there's somewhere they can rest. The problem in the working environment was, if I was using my wheelchair, there were lots of things could be done. Access proper ergonomic desks, etc. to suit. Also, if it was a visual problem, there are also things that will be done. However, when it's chronic pain in the workplace, sometimes all a person needs is to be able to take 10 minutes to lie down. When I went to education, and this is a secret, they did not look at me as a disabled person. They looked at me as a disabled person with needs that are unique to me. When we negotiated what was best, it was simple. I could work over a 24-hour period. I could work productively during the night where I was at peace. I could go and lie down. I could get up. I could continue. To look at someone as an individual with needs, it is very simple and doesn't cost much to change those, to look at those needs and make changes that will help.
My experience is that people don't realise how simple it is to make things more accessible for people with who are wheelchair users, for example. I've just been to Blackpool, and clearly whoever is in charge of access issues in Blackpool is very, very forward thinking, because the changes that they've made in reality have cost nothing, most of it being staff training. And the attitude of the staff on the public transport was absolutely unbelievable, to the degree of, for example, on the trams, there are conductors, but the moment they realised that someone with mobility details, not just me in a wheelchair, were going to use the tram, they immediately cleared the way. They were there to guide you to the seat or the space where you should be. A dedicated space, clearly signed, with the words that pushchairs and wheelchairs may use this area. However, if it is needed for a person in a wheelchair or with severe mobility problems, the pushchair must be moved. And exactly the same on the buses. When the bus pulled up, The driver immediately got from his seat and came to the door. I will put the ramp down, sir, and guided me in. This is where you need to be, sir. Back up to the rest, and so on. Where are you going? But it was physically, literally, I had to get out of the cab and open the ramp. Smiling faces. Again, the bus coming back, exactly the same thing. And we used trams and buses all over the long weekend with absolutely no problems whatsoever, none. And it's all down to basically staff training. And Blackpool need to be congratulated for that. Grandad's pushchair. I'm the favourite grandperson ever, particularly with the younger ones who are both now, what will they be, Linda? 7, 8 years of age. And the big novelty is whenever the wheelchair comes out of the car and they're with us, it's a fight as to who's going to sit on Grandad's knee and drive the wheelchair. But they don't think of it as a wheelchair, they think of it as a pushchair, which is good. And again, I quite often come across young children in supermarkets with the parents, and the parents will be, don't spare, or we're sorry, and you just say, it's okay. They're looking out of curiosity because I've got a better pushchair than they have. And again, it's how people are perceived, isn't it? It's, attitudes towards people with physical disabilities have changed dramatically over the years, and there's been vast improvements, certainly in the time that I've been a wheelchair user. But again, it's how you take it, light-hearted. I'm still a person. You know, I'm not anything to be feared. I'm still a person who can laugh and joke and be angry and sad and happy and laughing and so on and so forth.
I was going for the camera down the throat, and I told the nurse I would like my husband to read me the forms, and she said, no, we don't need him to read the forms, I will read it for you. So she decided to read after the form and tell me that they would spray my throat with the stuff what would numb the throat, and then they put the camera down. And I'm afraid I had a bad reaction to that. And what I didn't realise is everybody else had been offered to be put to sleep if they wanted to be put to sleep. But because the nurse had realised my husband was in a wheelchair, she decided that I shouldn't be put to sleep. When I went for my angina test to see if I got angina, where they put the dye into your bloodstream, and they do it and you go in and you come back out and they lay you on a bed because you've got to lay down for 4 hours. But what they didn't tell me is you had to lay down for 4 hours, but I had to pick every stuff up for 3 days. Well, as Alan was in his wheelchair at the side of the bed talking to me all day long, I would have expected him to notice that I had to pick up the wheelchair to put it in the car. And I was a full-time carer. And nobody had taken that into consideration and warned the fact that I couldn't live for 3 days, so I could have got respite care for Alan. I would say it's not joined up thinking, and all they had to do was put on the appointment card, you will be requested not to live for 3 days after this procedure. I'd
been in for an operation to renew my implant, and basically it went wrong, and so I had to be taken it back. I was then discharged home when we got problems, so I then had to be admitted to hospital again, but I had to go in on a stretcher. I had to remain flat. So ambulance arrives, or put it in perspective, patient transport services arrive. They struggled to get me on this stretcher, but nonetheless they put the stretcher on the vehicle, and obviously my wife said he will need his wheelchair, and the answer was, well, no, we can't take his wheelchair. Well, this is me. I need this with me, or the other wheelchair, the folding wheelchair. So the result was that my daughter had to follow the vehicle to York Hospital, excuse me, carrying my wheelchair, because otherwise, after the corrective procedure, it would have meant I would have been stuck in bed and couldn't have moved around at all. So again, it's down to staff training or realisation, if you like, that it's someone who's confined to a wheelchair, it's part of them. This is me.